Hey everyone, this is Janet Roper, animist, elder, and communicator, doing the Facebook Live today on the topic of when is a pet not a pet? Now, I use the word pet because as an animal communicator, I naturally resonate first with the animals, but it actually, you can substitute any word that you want in there when you can think of a beyond human sentient being. So instead of using the word pet, you can put in the word tree, rock, sky, grass, water, whatever you want. What I'm actually talking about today is how our language affects the relationship that we have with the beyond human sentient beings. And because I don't want to go through everything and say beyond human sentient beings all the time, I'm just using the word animal collectively and focusing in on the word pet. And so, as usual, I'll be looking at some notes, okay? And as usual, you guys know I really suck at watching the talk line as it is going on. So I will respond to your questions, your comments about this, your concerns about this when I see them, and that may not be until we finish the live here. And then I also want to say that this is my thoughts on this are not a finished product at this point in my life. It's something that I have been visiting and revisiting this topic of languaging around the animals and the other beyond human sentient beings and how that languaging affects our relationship with them. So it's a work in progress. So if there are times when I sound like I'm trying to figure things out as I talk, that's probably true. Because me being me, I'm an Aquarius, okay? I'm an extrovert. I am an ENFP, and the way I figure things out is by talking. And sometimes it almost seems like third stream consciousness, but this is how I figure things out in life. So today we're covering the word pet and the languaging that we use. Words like pet and owner, they just frankly give me the heebie-jeebies. Because coming from an animistic point of view, we're all in relationship. Okay, and yes, I know, New Age is going to say, yes, we're all in relationship. An animistic point of view is going to take that even deeper than that. And we're going to be going into, we're all in relationship and everyone has their own agency, their own authority, so to speak, their own ways that they live their lives, so to speak. So as I like to put it so often is we can no longer play the human card and say, because I'm a human, this is the way that it's going to be. This is the way that it needs to be. Because the animals, the plants, everyone has their own agency. And it's time that we start listening to them and that we start being aware of them and that we start respecting them, okay? So I had this conversation going up on my Facebook page. I think it was yesterday, and there were some really good comments over there. And one of the people over there said, well, you know, we need a better word than pet, but I don't know where that word came from. And I'm going, damn, that's a good thing. I need to look that up and I need to know that. So I want to start off talking about the etymology of the word pet. And I got this from etymology.com. And it says tamed animal, pet, tamed animal, originally in Scottish and Northern England dialect, and exclusively so until the mid-18th century, of unknown origin. And I'm thinking, well, that didn't help. But it goes on to talk a little bit more. And it says, since of an indulged child, around 1500, is recorded slightly earlier than that of animal kept as a favorite, which I guess that use started to be in the 1530s. It's probably associated with or influenced by petty. It's been used as a term of an endearment since 1849. And teacher's pet is attested from 1890, and pet shop started in 1928. And when it's said used as a indulged child or an animal kept as a favorite, it goes on to say that usually it is referred to the animal that is kept as a favorite. So the problem that I have with the word pet is that it gives us a hierarchy, okay, with the humans being above and the animals being below. That is not an animistic view. Remember, in animism, we're all connected, with each one of us having our own agency. So it's relationship with on a basis like this. But because we think of the word pet, that with our domesticated animals, that puts them in a lesser place of being, that they are subordinate to the human just by the use of that word pet. Because then it's assumed that the pet can't take care of themselves. And, with domesticated animals, that might be the case, but let's dig into this a little bit farther. The animal can't take care of themselves. They need the human to get their food. They need the human to take care of them. And so the word pet, as it is commonly used, from my perspective, from an animistic perspective, takes the animal's agency away from them. And as an animist, I'm thinking, we got to figure out a better wording for this. Okay, we got to figure out a better word to describe the relationship that we have with our domesticated animals, right? So let me go on record as being the first person to say that the English language really sucks, at least in my unbiased opinion. It really sucks at relationship words, and using those words to describe the nuances of relationship. Because to me, when we're talking about a human and air quote pet, we are needing a word that is nuanced to describe that relationship, that goes more into it than we are just the caretakers of the animals. While it's true, it's not 100% true that we are the caretakers, because they take care of us also. And the word owner, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole today. That just sets me off in every which way. Again, because of the associations that are made, that is putting the animal subordinate to the human. And when you own something, think about this, folks. It's property, isn't it? You own property. I own this mug, okay? I own this computer. I own these earphones. I do not own Max or my cat Raven in the true sense of the word of own. So that word just sends me spinning down a rabbit hole, okay? And I have to admit, okay, again, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I have to admit that we're doing the best that we can with the language that we have, but we really live in a time where we need to start questioning, and we need to start having open conversations about what words work instead of the word owner or pet, okay, which is part of what we got into on the conversation yesterday on my Facebook page, and it was really interesting. You'll have to go over there and read it. I'll put the link in the notes below, because people were coming up with words, and it's like I couldn't even pronounce them. I'm going, okay, this is a good word. I need to practice pronouncing it, which is why you're not going to hear me say it here. The other thing that is limiting with our languaging is, particularly if you're somebody like me who works online in this business, you got to think SEO, okay? Raise your hand if the first thing you're going to search is beyond human sentient being, right? I'm probably the only person who's going to search that, or maybe there's 2 or 3 of us. There's not a whole lot, but who's going to search pet? Okay, and when you Google pet, what do you come up with? Like a gazillion pages, right? So again, because we've used these words, and it has created the world that we've lived in, so to speak, we're caught in a catch-22. So that's why I feel that it's really important to have this conversation and to start talking about different words that we can use. But first, what we need to do is we need to recognize what that animistic relationship is between us and domesticated animals, okay? So for instance, y'all have heard me talk about my horse Shiloh, and y'all know that I moved from Minnesota to Montana. Well, I shouldn't say y'all, okay? People who know me know that. New people who are listening may not know that. But I moved from Minnesota to Montana. I had a horse at that time, a real life horse, and he chose to stay in Minnesota instead of coming out to Montana with us. That was Shiloh using his agency, okay? That was Shiloh using his decision-making process and his strength and his ability to orchestrate the events around him. So he ended up staying in Minnesota and not coming to Montana. Now, I know some people are going to go, okay, Janet, you've been drinking too much Kool-Aid or something. What's going on here? But again, think that the animals have their own agency. Shiloh was at a barn where the barn owner had literally, worked with the racehorse people and literally had connections all over the country. And every time there would be something set up so that Shiloh could be transported from Minnesota to Montana, it fell through. Okay. And I'm just thinking, man, I got really sucky luck. But now as I look back on that experience, I realize that that was Shiloh using his agency, using his own authenticity and authority so that he could orchestrate the relation or the events that were going on around him. And, you probably think, well, it's a horse, Janet. They can't do that. Well, but the horses have energy too. The plants have energy too. So within their realm of being, they can orchestrate that energy, just as like we humans can orchestrate the energy. One of the problems I see that we come across in using the word pet is that when we examine our contemporary culture, and I'm going to read this, it's a quote. When we examine our basic contemporary culture, the relationship with the animals in our lives is often underrated or entirely dismissed by most people, unless they're animal people or live with domesticated animals. And again, that is that division of it's just an animal, it's just a dog, it's just a cat, it's just a bird, it's just a horse. Get over it. And we frequently hear that a lot, okay? But the fact is that true family can and is co-created with non-human or beyond human sentient beings. And that concept is alien to a lot of folks, okay? Now, this next part will probably not be music to your ears, but it's how I experience it, is people who love the animals, who live with domesticated animals and will do anything for them, okay? They can say that they're living with a family, that their animals are family, which is true, but then take it that step farther. And is it a family in an animistic point of view? Does that animal have its own agency? Like, for instance, with Shiloh, does that animal have its agency to leave when it wants, to run away if it wants to? Does that animal have its agency to not be saddled if it doesn't want to be saddled? So there's all kinds of nuances and topics of conversation that we need to pull up and start talking about and start recognizing, okay? So again, as I said, our culture doesn't have a lexicon that defines, much less embraces the relationship between humans and the beyond human sentient beings. And a lot of times we're just looked at as nuts, okay? I was talking with a friend the other day, just happened to be on Zoom, okay? And I was sitting on my favorite place on the couch, and behind me on the couch is my plant Mariposa. Well, Mariposa is a big leaf philodendron, okay? And we're talking big leaf, okay? My hand would probably take 5 or 6 of my hands to make up one of her leaves, okay? So I was talking to one of my friends, and my friend said, your plant is thirsty. And it's like, yeah, I know. I'm going to water her as soon as I get off. And she said, well, that's good. She wants you to remember to water her as soon as you get off. Okay, now if you go out into the air quotes, real world, and you start saying, my plant said she needs to be watered, a lot of people are going to be looking at you like you just fell off the turnip truck or something, because that concept of having family that is beyond the humans is it's beyond comprehension to a lot of people. Okay, so because of that, okay, because of the nuances that are lacking, because of the lack of our languaging, because of we are using the words that we best know how to use at this time, okay, we are stuck in this outdated, inadequate, outmoded use of words like pet and owner. And we need to break that cycle, folks. We need to break that cycle because it no longer is true. Okay. While Raven, my cat Raven, and my dog Max live with me, I am not their owner. Yes, I'm responsible for taking them to the vet. Okay. Yes, I'm responsible for making sure that they get food. Yes, I'm responsible for making sure that they have water, that they have toys, that they go, that Max goes out on walks, and that they're entertained. I am responsible for that. But that responsibility is not the only thing that creates the relationship. Okay. The relationship is created also because of the bond we have as a family unit. For instance, Max will tell me when he wants to go outside. Max is so good, Okay, if I ask him if he wants something, and if he wants it, he'll walk up. If he doesn't want it, he will purposely, and he does this consistently a zillion and 7% of the time. If I ask Max something and he doesn't want it, he looks away. Okay, the relationship that I have with those boys is beyond the relationship that I have with humans, because these boys are animals. Got a cat and a dog, right? So when we are forced to use those words, okay, like pet and owner, it just, frankly, it drives me batshit crazy, because it's not honest, it's not true, it's not authentic, and it's not what it is. And so I am, soapbox time, I'm truly at the point that we need to start talking about what is instead of what we want it to be. Okay, so I think it's time we start doing that. I want to hear your comments. Okay, speaking of comments, let me check. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Monica. How you doing? Cool. We got some people listening. I like that. Okay. So with animals having their own agency, that takes a looking in at us and seeing how we are standing in the way of them having their own agency. Okay. We need to take a deeper look at ourselves. And are we getting anything from, are we getting anything ourselves from taking care of them? Okay. Is our taking care of animals, and this is just a hypothetical question, but I invite you to really explore it and to see what your answer is. Okay, answer will be different, of course, for everybody, but see what your answer is. As you are exploring the question of what your relationship is with you and your domesticated animal or plant or whatever, okay, really take a close look and see, are you taking care of them because you get something out of taking care of them? Because maybe you can be a martyr, or because maybe you said, I rescued that dog, or I rescued that plant, okay? When we give ourselves a title like that, like a martyr, or we rescued, or we did this, or we did that, okay? That is creating an otherness. It's not an animistic where we're in relationship with. It's the human is doing this because I'm getting X out of this. I'm doing this action because I'm getting this feeling, or this need is being met out of it, okay? So I'm going to invite you to start looking at this very deeply and start changing your perspective, okay? Oh, wait, there's one thing I thought of before I go ahead and say, talk about changing our perspective. I know, and okay, all honesty, I've done this too, and still do it from time to time. I refer to my my co-members, my family here, my Beyond Human family, as kids. And you know, it's just so easy. It just kind of rolls off the tongue. It's my fur kid. I got to go home and take care of the kids. Okay, but in all honesty, animals are not our kids. Okay. Now, if you gave birth to that rabbit, to that snake, to that horse, to that cat, to that dog, then they are your kid, okay? We did not give birth to them, okay? So using a word that connotates, okay, giving birth to another creature, that is taking the agency away from the animal, okay? That is denying that they have a mother of their own, a nurturer of their own. And again, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to say, I understand why we use these words, because our language is so limited. But just because the friggin' language is limited does not mean that we need to stay there, right? Right. It's time for us to move on, because we're in a different place. The world is in a different place. We are in different relationship with the beyond human sentient beings. So as part of the circle of life, so to speak, we humans need to examine what we are doing that is standing in the way of creating that true circle of life, where we are in relationship, but the relationship is not defined by human terms, which we're human. It's kind of hard not to do that, right? I understand the catch-22 that I'm putting forward to you. I totally get the catch-22. And I'm saying it's time to break that catch-22. So, you know, unless you gave birth to your dog, you're not their mother. So I encourage you to start thinking of other words that you can use besides saying, the dog is my fur kid, the horse is my fur kid, okay? Also, when we use that word kid in relationship to an animal, we are denying where they are in their own aging process, okay? Referring to, if I were to refer to either one of mine, either Raven or Max, okay, they would just look at me like I had just gone off the deep end, and it's like, well, I'm not going to listen to you. You need to respect who I am. You need to honor who I am, okay? But using the word kid, think about this. If you know a human that's 80 years old, you're not going to use the word kid with them, right? That's going to be not respecting where they are in their aging process. If you have an older dog and you are referring to them as fur kid, okay, that's not respecting where they are in their aging process. Again, don't get me wrong. I understand why we use these words. I get it. I understand it. And what I'm saying is, let's break the cycle. Okay, let's break the cycle. The other thing that we need to be aware of is when we are referring to an animal as our kid, okay, is that, and this is, okay, hold on. When we're referring to the animal as our kid, in a sense, we are denying what motherhood or fatherhood is to a real child, okay, because it's not the same. Again, I did not give birth to my animals. I am not their mother. They have their own mother. They have their own family, species family that they came from. Their own, if you want to call it genealogy, ancestral, they have their own, okay? And for me to take that away from them by using the word kid or fur kid, okay, that is denying them who they are. And again, that is putting them subordinate to the human use of the words. So, okay, I've said it 75 million times, okay. I understand why we're doing this, but we need to, again, work out of this. And even though using the word fur kid or pet or owner might feel like it's complete, like it completely defines our relationship, it doesn't. And we need to stand in that truth of that word, pet or kid or owner, does not completely define our relationship. Let's look at words that truly do start encompassing the entirety of what our relationship is with our beyond human sentient beings. I'll use animals, plants, rocks, grass, trees, water, air, whatever, okay? So going back to changing our perspective, okay? Realizing that animals have their own agency, that we are in relationship with, we do not have power over the animals, okay? So humans, let's change our perspective. How are you going to do this when it comes to languaging with your animals, okay? First of all, start by being kind to yourself, okay? Now, that might sound kind of like an oxymoron after I got off my soapbox and everything, but we are at the beginning of changing this relationship, okay? We are at the beginning of creating new relationship with the animals and the other beyond human sentient beings, right? So we need to be kind to ourselves because we not only have years of practice of calling them pets and fur kids and I'm an owner and, you know, describing the relationship like that. We have cultural norms that are put on us. We have societal norms that are put on us, and we have ancestral norms that are put on us, okay? I forget who said it, but someone said, do I have that here? Oh, heck. Basically, and I'm going to really slaughter the quotes, so just bear with me. It's basically our relationship with animals started out with, they were in the barnyard, and then they were on the back porch, and now they're in the bedroom. So there's that progress that we've had over the years from, you know, it's just an animal, just put it out there in the yard, to, you know, now a lot of the animals share our homes. So that has indicated a change in the relationship and in the way that we think about animals. And now we need to take that farther. So as you are exploring your own languaging that you use with animals and you're working on changing your perspective, be kind to yourself. realize that this is language that, you know, like I said at the beginning, the word pet comes from the 1500s, okay? That's a long time ago. That's been in our society, in our culture, in our mind, in practically our DNA since that time. So this is not going to change overnight. This is not going to change by having one conversation. This is a conversation. This is something that needs time. It needs nuances. It needs open-ended talk to go and to say, okay, what words can we use? And it also takes exploration. You know, what works for you may not work for somebody else. As you are changing your perspective, I'm going to invite you to make notes, okay? Realize how many times you use the word pet or owner or fur kit or whatever that word is for you. Start realizing how many times you use that. And then ask yourself, does that really define the relationship that I have with my cat right now? Does that define the relationship that I have with my snake right now? So as we start looking at these languaging patterns that we use, and we start consciously exploring them and looking for new beginnings, it's really going to do a lot to help us create the new world that we are looking at, create the new wording that we are looking for. Ask for help. Okie dokie. Find someone you trust. Ask if they can help you. Maybe it's just reminding, you know, you go to your spouse and you say, hey, honey, can you remind me every time I use the word pet not to do that? Or maybe you've got a jar that when you find yourself using the word pet, you throw a quarter in there or whatever. But ask for help, and ask for also accountability, because we need to be accountable for the language that we are using. Also, I invite you to start watching the languaging pattern of others, okay? Now, when I hear somebody, let's say that I've gone out to coffee with a bunch of friends and people are using the word pet, it just literally makes my skin crawl. Again, I understand why they're doing it. I don't feel that I'm in a place where I can get on the soapbox and say, look, we need to reconsider, even though I may need to start doing that. But notice the languaging of others and how that is now affecting you. For instance, if you've decided not to use the word pet, okay? When you hear somebody use it, what does it do to you? Are you okay with it? Does it make your skin crawl, or something in between? But also, when we become aware of the languaging of others, we start realizing how prevalent this is. So that's my soapbox for today. It's on the languaging of the languaging that we use with the animals and the beyond human sentient beings. It's us becoming aware of it, and us humans looking for something better, okay? And maybe that is listening to the plant or the stone and seeing if they have a word for you. So there's all kinds of depths that go on to this. I'm going to invite you over to my Facebook page, and I forget the name of it. I think it's Talk to the Animals, with Talk, the number 2, the Animals. I think that's the name of the Facebook page. But anyway, if you find me on Facebook, and then you'll find the page, and it's really simple. You'll see the conversation that we've got going over there. And I invite you to give this serious consideration. If it's something that I can help you with, let me know. You know, either send me a direct message, go to my website, janetroper.com, and send up, or send me a message that way. But let's work together. Let's start changing the world so that we are in relationship with and not in power over the animals and the other beyond human sentient beings. You all take good care. I will have notes and probably resources in the comments below. And I'm going to check real quick. Lab is a partner. We do search and rescue. And he takes his job seriously, and he communicates with me all the time. That's cool, Chris. Thank you for sharing that. Hi, Raven. Monica. Hey, Barbara, how you doing? Talk about giving dogs human names too. My dog and I call each other Whistle, his noise, his choice. Okay. So, yeah, maybe, look at that as a consideration too. Does the animal like the name that you have given them? Or is it a name that they gave you that they want to be called? Or is it maybe a whistle or a sound? So opening ourselves to these questions opens all kinds of doors and areas of exploration. So if you have any questions, just leave them here, message me. And folks, let's just go out and change the world, right? Let's do this, okay? It's a good Wednesday afternoon to start doing this. Y'all take good care. I'll talk to you later.